This is Mouthbuzz. Every week, we follow life's strange little breadcrumbs, topics we bumped into, thought about, and maybe completely misunderstood. Join us as we talk it through. We're broadcasting from Redcliffe, and today we're going to take you for a walk along the foreshore and have a look at some of the great features that Redcliffe has to offer. But first, what's the buzz?
Okay, the buzz today is as follows. The Bee Gees go bronze, Redcliffe's shining stars.
I like the Bee Gees. They rock.
I'm waiting for you to break into song.
No song just yet.
Dad's 1965 camera and the world it was built for. He must be dead. There was free food.
What is that about?
Surprise. IT geek secrets. How to spot a dodgy email in seconds.
That IT keeps sneaking in on our show. Wonder why that is.
Nothing to do with you, of course. When she leaves, what's left? Lessons from a 90-year-old dad.
Still learning from my dad after all these years.
Dear ChatGPT, should I dump the 5th workday?
Workplace health and safety. No?
No. Tell us all about Redcliffe and its wonders.
Well, something that may not be widely known is that Redcliffe was the first settlement in Queensland. Did you know that Queensland used to be part of New South Wales? There was no Queensland in the early days?
Yes, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So we have Queensland, which is great because that's where we live. And we talked in another show about Humpybong Creek, which was one of the reasons that Redcliffe was chosen. So we're going to take you for a walk along the foreshore of Redcliffe, including having a look at some memorials, a beautiful lagoon, and just generally looking out over gorgeous Moreton Bay, out to the Moreton Islands. I mean, it's pretty spectacular, isn't it? Yeah.
It is. And when you live there for a while, you always take things for granted. And then you see other people come along, they actually come here for holidays, and you go, oh, we live in a holiday destination. How cool is that?
How cool is that? Excellent. Okay, well, let's get on with the show.
Let's get on with it. I'll start with something funny. You know, when you're working with teenagers, and some people hate working with teenagers, I love it because they crack me up. They are so funny. They're absolutely hilarious. You have to joke with them, and once you start joking with them, then they give you so much material, enough to, you could be a stand-up comedian. So 2 things. It was roll call time, right? So I'm calling the roll, and I'm going, where's Tom? And I hear, he's dead. And I said,
Dead?
that's not a very nice thing to say. He must be sick if he's away. And the kid turned around and he said, no, he must have died because yesterday was Chappie's breakfast and he didn't turn up for that.
What's Chappie's breakfast?
Chappie's breakfast is when the chaplain puts on a breakfast once a week, like a barbecue or pancakes for kids early in the morning from 7:30 for breakfast.
And Tom didn't turn up?
And Tom didn't turn up. So his mate said, well, he always turns up for free food, so he's obviously dead. I know, right? And here's something from seniors. At the end of the lesson, this one senior student turned to me and said, I've got to ask you for a favour. And I said, sure, what would you like me to do? And you know I've been sick this is my 3rd week now. And I've been to work for a few days, but coughing, so I had to have more days off. And the senior student turns around and looks at me and said, I've had 3 shifts at work this week, so that's quite a bit of money. And I want to give it to you all if you do something for me.
He's going to give you the money?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I said, what is it you want me to do? And they said, well, if I give you the name of someone, can you just go and cough on them, please? I went, what? Yeah, go and cough on them and make sure they get sick enough to stay away for the last 4 weeks of term.
Oh, my God.
So I said, what if I go and lick them? to make sure that the cooties really stick. And they said, oh, we'll pay you an extra $100. So how funny is that?
Oh, that's really good.
So that's my takeaways from the few days I've been in work in the last 3 weeks.
The funny things students say.
Yeah, too funny. Quite creative, right?
So do you know who the Bee Gees are? You might be too young.
So, what? No. No way. Staying Alive, the movie.
Saturday Night Fever?
Yes.
That was all the Bee Gees music, wasn't it?
And I couldn't see it because I wasn't quite 18 and it was an R-rated movie.
Oh, my goodness.
And I had to wait until I turned 18 to go and see it.
That's amazing.
So then I went to see it and I thought, why is it R-rated? There was one scene about a guy and a girl and a condom, and that was about it.
Things have changed.
I was very disappointed.
Yes, things have changed.
But great music.
Great music. One of the things I loved about the Bee Gees was how they reinvented themselves over the years. They didn't stick to the same style and tone. They had several changes along the way and they kept themselves current. In fact, more than current, they led the music scene. Fabulous. Just an amazing band. Well, what a lot of people may not know, but given that the Bee Gees are so famous, maybe everybody knows it, that they came from Redcliffe.
England.
Well, originally from England, but they were brought up and lived in Redcliffe.
Right. So we've claimed them as our own.
Of course we have. The Bee Gees are Australian.
Okay, fair enough.
And as young boys, they were brought up in Redcliffe. And so not only has Redcliffe claimed them, but Moreton Bay has claimed them, and the Moreton Bay electorate has claimed them, and so everybody's after a piece of the Bee Gees. And what you're looking at now is Bee Gees Way. So this is a walk that was created by the Redcliffe Council and opened by Barry Gibb and the then Mayor of Redcliffe, Alan Sutherland, in 2013.
Okay.
It's free, it's open day and night, and you can walk down Bee Gees Way. It's about 70 metres long, and there's music playing, there's photographs, there's bronze statues of the Bee Gees, one set when they were young boys, and another set when they were older. And it's really great to wander down there and listen to the music, look at all the old photographs, album covers, and in the middle of Bee Gees Way is a huge big screen that constantly plays footage and music from their shows and from things.
It's very cool. It's like memory lane.
Yeah.
Come alive.
Come alive.
Not just in your head.
And like those great songs, right? Like Staying Alive, How Deep Is Your Love, Night Fever.
Yes.
Yes. And Bee Gees Way, what was really cool about it was developed in collaboration with Barry Gibbs. So he had input into the way it looks and the way it laid out, and the whole experience is just fabulous.
That's so cool. I'm glad that they had input in something about them and it was just made of them without their knowledge.
Yeah, and the stats are 60 photographs, 13 album covers, personal stories and reflections, and a huge 70-metre mural of the Gibbs brothers along the way. So really great.
Is that the memorial?
I guess you could say they've been memorialised in Redcliffe. Staying alive!
Oh dear.
I think it's probably not a good thing to do in winter when we're all down a bit with colds.
No, we can't hit those. We can't hit those notes today. Look, I'm going to tell you my story.
Another story?
Yeah.
You're full of it.
Well, excuse you. You know, a few years ago I joined Mind Valley and I did a few courses with them. Actually quite cool, but I didn't do heaps and heaps. I signed up for the year and they can do lots of courses, but I didn't. Well, I just saw the guy from Mind Valley advertising again on Facebook quite heavily, and he's talking about AI. And he said the world will be split into two. Those people who can use AI and those people who are ignorant of AI. And he said college degrees are now no longer valid.
Wow.
Useless. And he talked about an example where there was a woman using ChatGPT, put a whole nutrition plan together for herself. I went, oh, that's cool, because I did something similar yesterday. I asked ChatGPT and I said, so here I am, after 30 years of teaching, getting closer to retirement age, what would be the benefits of going to a 4-day working week?
Good question.
And I asked them more and I said, well, what are the benefits for me? And what sort of things should I watch out for? And if I only work 4 days a week, what do I do with my extra day? Do you have some suggestions? Analysing, ding, 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 analysing, boom. Here it comes.
Right.
3 pages.
3 pages.
And then it said, now would you like me to write a letter for your employer applying for a 4-day working week? And I went, sure. So another page, some awesome stuff, and the benefits outweigh the negatives. I'll give you the negatives first. There's only 4 of them.
Okay.
And one was about timetabling. So it's a negative impact for the timetabler. Me, I don't care. I don't do timetables.
Right.
Your income goes down a little bit, 0.8, so I could work that out. Superannuation may be reduced a little bit, and the perception of other people. They may have some judgments of you going 0.8. However, guess what?
What?
The benefits, here we go.
Lay it on me.
Improved work-life balance, reduced burnout, increased productivity on working days, time for strategic career planning or side interests, better personal health, and increased job satisfaction.
Amazing.
So 6 positives versus 4 things that aren't even my problem. And then on the days off, I could do more well-being focused things like joining a walking group, starting that garden so we can have fresh veggies.
Yes.
I could do some professional projects like mentor new staff, could develop lesson resources and actually sell them online as I'm creating in my own time.
I like that one.
If you create stuff on materials that are owned by Education Queensland, you can't sell them.
Yes, because that's part of your deal with the government.
That's right.
Isn't it?
It's all belongs to the government, all my resources, my ideas, etc. But if I had a day off and made them on my own computer, then I can do whatever I like.
That's excellent.
And I could do private tutoring, maybe education consulting, write assessment tasks, maybe do some more work for the Queensland Curriculum and Assessment Authority. So all these possibilities, I can only see positives.
Would that mean that you'll be at home more?
Well, I don't know. It depends on how many side hustles I start off
Side
with.
hustles.
I know, right?
You're going to become a side hustler.
Side hustler.
I like it.
The point being is you can use ChatGPT for ideas to improve your life.
I like it.
I know.
That's excellent.
Some people use them as a personal counsellor.
So does that mean you'll be home more often?
I don't know. Is that a loaded question? Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I noticed it wasn't part of the benefits or the disadvantages.
To spend more time with you. Well, you weren't in the question in the first place. I did not say, how would my partner feel about that one? Oh my God, I'm going to go home and ask it. How do you think my partner will feel? That's the next question.
Well, it's a good example, isn't it, of asking a complete question.
Yes, I put in a lot of information and I got a lot of output.
Just on the quiet. I'd be quite happy if you spent more time at home. Then I could practice my supervision.
Oh, okay, I'm working. I'll work until I'm 80, 5 days a week.
Too funny.
Tell us about how to spot a dodgy email in a few seconds.
Con men have been around forever. What's happening with email is they just have a different tool to play with. They kind of use tricks that they've used for centuries. It's just applied to email. And we've had email around for such a long time that there's been a kind of a trusting of it, right? It's integrated in our lives. It's in business. It's in personal. It's how you receive and send things these days, attachments, all of that. So there's this tendency to trust an email. So that's got to stop.
Right.
So first of all, you've got to not trust email and ask questions about it. So that's the first thing. Second thing is often the types of scams that are perpetrated on us seem odd. You get an email that you didn't ask for, perhaps from a company that you don't know anything about, saying something like, you've joined up this account, or we've transferred this money, or whatever it is. I mean, use your awareness. Ask a question. Think about this. Is this something that I actually asked for? Is this anything to do with me? Is this relevant?
Yeah.
You'll often find that spelling is a bit weird, or even the way it's written is a bit weird. Like we're here in Australia and we get the spam email. An Australian probably wouldn't write it like that.
Yeah.
It's styled in a certain way. One of the companies that I work with called Access Consciousness, 2 words. And often with the spam emails I get, it's presented as one joined word. So that's an immediate trigger.
Yeah.
Email technology is very old and it has limitations. It's possible to send an email from an email address that you don't own. I often get spam emails from my company email or one of the service providers that we use that's not from them. So it looks like it's come from them. So have a look at the email address that it's sent from, and you'll often find that it's nothing to do with the company that the email is purported to be sending from.
Yeah. Yeah, I've noticed that. Yeah.
Right, so you might get an email from GoDaddy, but actually when you look at the email that it's sent from, it's some bogus email on Gmail.
Yeah.
So have a look at that. The other thing you can do, which is quite useful, is often in these kind of emails, there's 2 things. There'll either be an attachment, and it'll ask you to click the attachment. Well, don't do that. That's asking for trouble. The second thing is it'll ask you to click a link. So if you hold your cursor over the link and just hover it over, down below in the program that you're using to read the emails, it will often display the link for you.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So you can have a look at that link. In a lot of cases, you'll see that it goes to some website or some address that has little to do with the topic or the email it's purporting to be from. And I think the biggest thing is when you get an email like that, look at it and go, is this an odd email? I mean, if it looks, if it feels, if it smells like an odd email, it's probably an odd email.
Just delete it.
And get rid of it and delete it. There are some websites you can go to where you can upload the email and it'll give you some sort of analysis on it, give you some sort of feedback. That's kind of useful as part of looking at how you deal with these emails. But really, if you're not sure, get rid of it. If you didn't ask for it, if it's reading odd, if it doesn't look right, get rid of it. Why would you take the chance?
Yeah.
It's just an email.
And banks, some things are quite clear now, what they ask for, what they don't ask for. They will always send you an email and say, go and log into your account. That's where you find all the information. You don't reply to a bank ever via email because it's all done in the back end in your bank account online.
Don't be caught. There's no reason to be caught. If you're unsure, delete it.
Yeah, good advice. And maybe if it was legit, they'll get in contact with you again. Hopefully, maybe they'll ring you instead and have a conversation. You said something interesting to me the other day. You said, what was created for a time that no longer exists? Tell us about an acquisition you got this week.
Right. Well, when you think about it, right, there's a lot of things that were created. And at the time, they were innovative, amazing, in demand, and went viral. Really popular, and off they went. And at that time, with the technology, with the economics, everything that was there was perfect for them to be launched. And they might have lasted a long time. So they might have been in your life for a long time. And you think that they're always going to be there and they're always going to be relevant. But things do need to be thrown out.
Oh.
Clothes.
Oh.
So, my dad is getting older. And I was visiting him the other day and he was having a clean out of some of the things that he's been keeping for a long time. And so he took me into this room, we opened a cupboard and he said, look, I've got this, there's some clocks, there's a radio. And there, up in the corner, was a camera. Now I recognized that camera and I said, what about the camera? And he said, oh, I have it. He said, I don't use it anymore. And he kind of just dismissed it. Now the reason I was interested is that my family emigrated to Australia from the UK in 1965. That's a long time ago. That's a lifetime ago. And we travelled, we were 10-pound poms, and we travelled to Australia by boat and came through the Mediterranean, through the Suez Canal.
Wow.
And as we're heading south down the Suez Canal, there's a country called Aden. And the boat stops there and you can get off and have a look around. And in Aden, my dad bought a camera.
That camera?
And it was a Kodak Retinet 1B. I think not a particularly expensive camera, doesn't matter. And that camera took photographs for years of the rest of our journey to Australia and the early days we spent in Australia. I was 8 years old, so throughout my whole early childhood, this camera was there clicking away, taking all those family photographs and lots of different photographs. And some years ago, I wrote a book called The First 5 Years, Port Hedland, 1965 to 1970, which was a combination of my dad's recollections and my recollections as a young boy of that time. And those photographs, I got his whole set of slides, and those photographs informed me of a lot of things that I'd forgotten about that time. So there's this camera, and I grabbed it, and I was just really pleased to see it again, and it brought back some great memories. And I took it out of its case and opened it up, and it's an old film camera. So you used to buy a little cylinder that had film in it, slot the cylinder into the camera, pull out the film.
The first little bit.
Pull it and tie it on, and there was a lever in the camera, and you operated the lever and it rolled the film on. So you'd take a photograph and then use the lever and roll the film on and take another photograph. And then when that film was all done, then it had to go off for processing and be developed, and it was an exciting thing. I always remember exciting thing because we lived in a very remote place, and so the film had to go to Perth, some 1,200 miles away, and then it was posted back to us. So it was very exciting when the mail arrived with the photographs, and we'd all gather around because they were taken a month ago. It took quite a long time to get the whole thing done. And so this camera was a very integral part of our early days. But these days, it has no place.
No.
I had a look online. It's probably worth about $50 on a good day. It has no value. With the invention of mobile phones now, particularly, that take very good photographs, it's completely out of place. It's one of these things that was invented for another time.
But I can add something to that story because I had film cameras as well throughout my younger years, and an update from processing, sending the film away and having it processed, then they had labs where you could go and you put the film in and you'd have to wait. And then later, as technology progressed, you could wait for 1 or 2 hours. And I remember that they had the machine in the shop near a window and you could see the photos coming out.
Wow.
And I remember standing there thinking, oh my God, what photos did I take on there that everybody could see popping past? What if there's something, discriminatory on there and then people will see it? I was always worried about what did I take? Is there something inappropriate that I took? It's like young kids these days, taking sexy photos on their phones and then sending it off to someone else. It was a bit like that moment. Like we used to do that when we were kids, take photos and then be so worried about what we'd get caught doing.
The evidence.
So things haven't changed that much. It's just a different format.
It's just a different tool. Yeah,
yeah, different tool.
A different tech.
What lesson have you learned from your dad this week? It's a dad update.
It is a dad day, isn't it?
Yeah.
A dad day.
It's not even Father's Day.
Not even any dad jokes.
No.
My dad continues to teach me. He's 92 years old and he continues to teach me. Recently, my dad's partner, Joni, has got a little older, a little less capable. And so we're having a look at homes and care and respite and different things like that. And my dad is very upset. He's having a lot of difficulty with this. And one of the things that he's concerned about is that if Joni goes into care and leaves home, then his life changes immensely because he's been looking after her. And so she, apart from being his partner, this caring aspect has been a huge part of their lives. So when she goes into care, which she will, there's a huge hole there.
Yeah.
And he is really having difficulty with what his life is going to look like when that occurs. And his ability to handle change seems to be what's up here, because he can't see what possibilities there are for him in the future. And he feels that his life is kind of going to become this hole that he has to rattle around in. The lesson that I'm learning here is that when you plan your life out to the final day and you have this vision and you've put things in place and you've set certain legal things and your will is done and you've bought your plot for your body to be buried in and blah, 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 and then something comes along that changes that plan, it's very disconcerting. And so what you need to do is to build in a huge amount of flexibility, because the future is an unknown. And just because you plan in your mind and in your world in intimate detail doesn't mean that the universe is going to deliver it to you in that way. So here we have a lesson about getting too rigid and too fixed into the future and not allowing the future to come to you in an ease-filled way that you can adapt with and move with.
Because you're not in total control.
You have to let go of control.
That'd be a tough lesson for most people.
Well, I said to my dad, I said, look, Pop, I said, look back over your life. You're 92 years old. Have you ever been homeless? Have you ever not been employed? Have you ever not had money? Have you ever not had food? Have you ever not had things to do? And I went through a list of things, and it's like, no, no, no. Why are you thinking that now that is what you'd start creating? That, all of that. Why now? There's no precedence, there's no trend, there's no history.
So I wonder what it is that tips someone into that uncertainty.
I think part of it is that physically you're less capable.
Yeah.
Probably mentally you're less capable. I think my dad's pretty good in that department. My dad's always been very strong, very fit, and he's now frail.
Yeah.
The ability of the body to perform the things that you want it to perform adds some element here. There's a lot of things.
Yeah.
I think you could group it all together and just saying people get older. I'd say there's a tendency when you retire, or perhaps when you're just a little bit older and you're working less, to cease creating your life, to getting to this point of quote-unquote retirement, as if that's the end goal and your life is over at that point. You're just going to live your retirement in your planned way. And people that I know that have been lively in their old age have always been creating.
Creating more, yeah.
Creating more, creating a future, starting a business or starting some sort of hobby, getting involved in group. I have a friend, Kevin Rogers is an artist, Jeanette is a wonderful organiser, and she has become the lead, the head of the local art society.
Right.
And she has taken that to heights it's never been to before. Quite fabulous. So she's always bright because she has this future. She's been making choices that create a lively future. And I think some people don't do that. They get to this point in their life where they go, okay, I'm here. And that's it. Well, is that it for today?
That's it for today.
Fantastic. Same place next week?
Perhaps not.
Same time?
Yes.
All right, let's do it. You've been listening to Mouthbuzz. Subscribe to stay in the loop and be part of the conversation next time.